Hello and welcome to the 27th PlanetDestiny podcast. It was a fun week last week, a 2.5-hour podcast. We talked about weapons and stuff, but Tefty wasn't here, but he's here this week. Hi,
That's
Tefty.
Right.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi. We are also joined by our normal co-hosts, Briar Rabbit and the Pope Bear. Who do we have as a guest this week? It's none other.
Hello, I am Rick Kakis from Kakis HD. And did you know I post Destiny videos?
I know you post Destiny videos. You've been posting them for quite a long time. Instead of talking about something new this week, I figured we didn't get enough time in last week, or at least Tefty and Rick, they wanted to talk about some of the weapon stuff from last week. And then we'll get into the weekly update, talking about some of the Foundry stuff as well a little bit later on in the podcast. But there's unfinished business from last week, namely Icebreaker, Gjallarhorn, Black Hammer. Get some conversation rolling on those topics. I think Black Hammer would be a really good starting point for the conversation.
Okay. I'll kick it off with Black Hammer.
All right.
The Black Hammer thing for me, I didn't really mind as much because it's still an 18-shot sniper rifle if you have perfect aim.
Yeah.
It's technically 18 shots in the magazine. So I'm not as burnt about the Black Hammer as some people have been about that one. I'll jump back in once we come to the Icebreaker.
Well, way to take it off there, Tefty. I think that I felt like it legitimately made it a legendary weapon, and I think it was a exotic before, and now it's a legendary, and it fits into the category appropriately. And if they had wanted to, I think they should have ascended it to an exotic, and if they wanted to keep it the same. So
I feel like, on your point, when you said it feels like a legendary, I think that's a good point. When we all started, I think, for me at least, and I assume for you guys, when you first got Black Hammer and you shot it, you expected it to come out of the magazine. And you kind of had that moment where you're like, oh, shit, he's just pulling these out of thin air. And so I think that nerf definitely it makes sense. It was kind of ridiculous that you could, in a strike, shoot a boss non-stop and kill him in like a minute. That was a little bit much. I felt.
Some strikes lend
broken.
themselves to it, especially well. I'm thinking at the Devil's Lair, both bosses you could pretty much take down in
Devil's
no time.
Lair, Archon Priest,
I think one of
the
biggest telling points about the nerf, I don't know if the community was upset about it just because of the weapon itself, but because it made the just really badly designed PvE encounters much more easier to manage. A lot of these bosses are essentially bullet sponges, and that weapon made that process of whittling down a bullet sponge a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah.
That's been my response to why Gjallarhorn needs a nerf, really, is that there's so many bosses that are bullet sponges because we have weapons that are so powerful. And like Gjallarhorn, you get to shoot 2 rockets each time you fire. So that's 14 rockets that you shoot in half the time it would take to normally shoot 14 rockets. Of course there's going to be bullet sponges, so that you need to have bullet sponges, otherwise...
So you're saying that the PvE design requirements, or the PvE damage levels, were designed around the max potential of the weapons? So
Probably.
They had the 14 rocket thought of Gjallarhorn in their mind when they're designing these bosses.
No, that doesn't really make sense. Because with Gjallarhorn, you're able to take them down so fast.
Yeah, I'm going to chime in here about Gjallarhorn, because I made a video, I think 2 days ago, specifically about the Gjallarhorn nerf, and I thought it was done extremely poorly in the fact that the actual nerf of nerfing the damage, it makes sense. Like, Gjallarhorn is ridiculous, and I felt myself feeling definitely, you're almost kind of annoyed when you put on Gjallarhorn. You're like, I wish I could use something else. But I think that it really didn't help that, I think the Gjallarhorn being amazing, it wasn't the issue, it was a symptom of the issue, and the issue is, the boss fights. And we already talked about the boss fights being ridiculous, bullet sponges, but also think every single boss in the game, except for Omnigul, right? Every single boss has an area of effect attack. So the option of getting a shotgun and trying to go close range and get behind it, that just isn't there. It's going to stomp the ground and kill you instantaneously.
And Omnigul's attack really is an area of effect attack.
Yeah, well, there you go.
She only has that attack.
But bosses also have extremely powerful long-range attacks. So you don't have the opportunity to do exposed engagements. You can't shoot with a primary exotic, for example, for a long period of time because you'll get melted by the long range attack. So you need a weapon that you can come out of cover, shoot, go back in cover and reload. What does that sound like? Rocket launchers. And we just happen to use the most powerful rocket launcher, right? It just totally makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like the Gjallarhorn nerf was an inevitability. Everybody used it, and there's a lot of people on LFG sites that are like, you need to have a Gjallarhorn, and that created a segmented community. So I understand why it's happening, and I think that the root of the problem is nothing that we could actually come up with an easy solution about, because it's like you guys said, it's the bullet sponge problems. The bosses just have too much hit points to be able to not use anything else other than Gjallarhorn because of the 14 rocket
You have to use the best of the best.
You got to use the best of the best. And
The
why would
solution
you
to
do
that problem is so difficult, though, is if you take away those bullet sponges, you have to really be creative about how to make these boss fights feel epic, right? I think Bungie's done a better job.
Yeah, I honestly think that's one of the reasons why that we're seeing this nerf come about is it's a nerf that will come out just before the Taken King, and the Taken King bosses will probably be a little bit more, feel like an actual encounter instead of a marathon to kill or to get through someone's health.
Well, I think it's important also, like I brought up, again, every boss has the area of effect attack, discouraging close range weapons, and every boss has an extremely powerful long range attack. I think for the Taken King, it's extremely important that they have a boss, for example, that has like melee attacks only, and it just chases you around the map and melees you, and then bosses that are like kind of slow and lumbering, and they only shoot at you with range attacks, so if you get up close and blink around it, you can get a lot of shotgun damage, stuff like that, and that's going to differentiate gameplay more than just, a Gullrot-like mechanic where it slows you down for a little bit. I mean, rocket launchers are still going to be amazing in that encounter.
Well, so Crota is a melee only. Well, no, he does.
No, he shoots at you. He Iron Mans you, right?
He does shoot out of his hand. Yeah,
Iron Man's
But-
you. I
Exactly.
like that.
But you know what? Let's just take him for. Let's take that in consideration. Let's say he doesn't Iron Man you, and he was just a melee. Would that be something that you'd want to see in a strike every time?
Not every time, but I think having some bosses that are like that, and then they would chase you around. Of course, you'd have to have like an arena that is designed specifically for that. But I think you'd have to admit that's going to bring out some weapons that probably weren't going to be used in other attacks where, you're on the Nexus boss and God forbid you poke your head out for more than 5 seconds and you were melted with a long-range attack, right?
Yeah.
One of the wonderful things about the last weapon update that we actually have received when shotguns were like doubled in their damage was that all these shotgun strategies became viable. Like, getting right up next to the Archon Priest, putting a bubble next to him, and you got 3 guys with shotguns just like blasting him. Became a super fun way of taking down that boss. And we've seen Dado make a shotgun only Crota's End raid, and that was super fun, like all these, a lot of it is weapon balancing, a lot of it is the design of the encounters, and all of these things have to work in concert. I think that Bungie may not have really realized what they were doing.
They're getting it though.
They're getting it. They're getting it now. Like they're seeing how people play the game. They're seeing like how to design the game in the future, and they've got to balance the stuff to support the future.
Well, one of the things that we should consider is when I did a ride along with some of the designers on Cosmodrome, one of the things that struck me was we were looking at the crawler.
Yeah.
What is it called?
The Devil Walker.
One of the things that they said that stuck in the back of my mind is that was an example of how bosses were going to change, right? A minor example that bosses would then, you have to blast off the leg, and then the neck comes out, and then they're using an example of that as like the direction that they're heading for bosses. I think you're going to see boss fights from here on out be multiple stages where you're going to you guys are giving examples of how to engage the boss as a strategy, right? But I think what's going to happen moving forward is that each boss fight is going to have several elements in it that you're going to have to change your strategy based on health of the boss, based on his aggro or not, based on different things. You're going to have to be able to flip-flop strategies or weapons. So something might be rocket based, but then the best strategy once the boss switches into this mode will be to use shotguns or to use a range weapon. So I think that that's the direction that they're going with boss fights, and I'm really excited about it. And we're going to see the value of these weapon changes then. We're going to see the value of them then. And it's really hard for us to look at them now in our bubble that we live in. And they've been playing in and working on a bubble that's going to be completely, that's going to feel different.
Yeah, Skulls is a good example of that, too. I mean, the Skulls himself doesn't change, but the encounter of the actual fight has a lot of what you're talking about. That at this point, the health changes and you get the Skull's taint happening.
Yeah, I think what you guys said about changing bosses and changing encounters is spot on. The problem, though, and there's a Destiny subreddit post today of someone saying, look, if you want us to change throughout the encounter, why do you penalize us for switching weapons? Like, if I want to take off my rocket launcher and put on a heavy machine gun, I lose all my ammo. Like, I'm just done. And same with secondary weapons. So these changing encounters, I think they need to change the mechanics around switching weapons and let us be more creative and switch weapons in the middle of in the encounter if they want us to fight new bosses like that.
And I think we've received an answer to that, Rick. Briar, you're probably going to answer this, but we've received an answer to that yes, they agree that that's right. That's what it should be. But some of this stuff is deep in the code, and it is not worth risking to change right now. That's the change that we're going to see in Destiny 2.
The heavy ammo glitch.
Yeah, that's
the heavy ammo glitch that took like 7 months to fix.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's a code change that they're not willing to risk fixing. It's not as simple as switching a light switch. And we've gotten I forget where I was reading it or I heard it, but that was an answer that they gave. They don't like that you lose ammo. But it wasn't
that's fair enough.
Consequence.
That's totally understandable, but then again, it puts tension on what you've said about these changing bosses and adapting fights, because obviously those two things are not two mechanics that work together.
Yeah, they do not work together very well at all.
Right, and I think something realistic that we can see is that, and the community can give them feedback on, and maybe knowing that a change in the code is not possible right now, could we then find another solution? One of the things that they did with the heavy ammo is they made Xur sell it cheaper and every week. Well, what if the downtime or the cooldown time on ammunition wasn't as long as it was?
And what if
for
they
special
were
ammo and primary ammo?
What if the synths
no need for a
were
cooldown
separate?
rate
What if
for
they were
those.
separate? The
Right.
cooldowns
Yeah.
are
So
separate.
right
I think
if
we
you had-
also
what if
might
you had-
see
that's
some
great.
of this get fixed with the Taken King and the faction. We're going to talk about the faction weapons, or not the faction weapons, but the Foundry weapons later. But some of them have some pretty interesting features that may help with this.
True,
the
and
specific problem.
I think the very simple example that Patrick just gave was to separate the cooldown timers. So you have one for primary, one.
Yeah, that's
for
a good
secondary.
idea.
But I think right now we're looking at simple changes that will make it possible for us to play the game that they're creating the way that we want to play it. Although I agree with you that's a change, and I think they agree with you that that's a change that they wanted to have, not for you not to lose ammo, but it's just not possible right now. But
back to the discussion about the boss changes. Thinking about the Devil Walker. So if you look at that Fallen Walker tank, it has a multi-stage. Well, not really a multi-stage, but it has stages in its fight, and it's kind of like a mini boss.
You have to do this to get this to happen.
Yeah, you got to pop his legs to be able to pop the brain. And what's weird is we didn't see that in any other. Well, actually, we did see it in the tank that we saw once for Cabal, but that's like about it. There wasn't in any other boss fights.
Did we really get to see it in that though? Like we.
Yeah,
you
I was
know
gonna say
you have
just
to
shoot it from forever away, anyways.
You
so.
shoot him
Well,
from.
it
You have to
hints.
shoot him from forever away because
It hints at it.
I one of my favorite things is to go down there and melee it. What does it do when you get next to it?
Pope, you would say that as a Titan.
I mean, what will you can go? You can run up. It's got a distance gun on it, and it pops out.
If you are literally on top of it, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
but
if you stay active,
if you're like
you run up
in
there and you
close
shoot it with
range,
a shotgun.
Yeah, if you're in close range to it, you're going to get wrecked by a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. But my point is that I feel like they were stepping in that direction, and then they were like, "Oh my god, we have to get this out by September 2014. Pull back all these cool ideas because we got to make sure this is released." You know?
No, I get what you're saying. I really, I like, if they're moving in this direction of multi-stage bosses and just more interesting boss encounters, I'm all for that. Because, I mean, what we've seen from Prison of Elders is just adding a few mechanics, burning the ground. That just makes the fight so much more interesting. So they're going in the right direction.
And I think that what we're seeing is Bungie's, in regards to the weapon balancing, Bungie's view of what needs to happen to weapons in that context for us to enjoy those engagements and those encounters.
I do want to say that the Icebreaker nerf still, like...
So I didn't get to talk about this yet.
Oh, go ahead, Tefty. Go ahead, Tefty, because I want to weigh in as well.
Okay, perfect. I think they screwed up in this nerf because their point behind it was that they want to prevent people or hinder people at waiting in the back to shoot the bullet sponge.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, it's just going to take a little bit longer for people to wait to shoot the bullet sponge with an 8-second delay versus 5 seconds. So I don't think it was a good nerf. I think it's counterintuitive. It just means that people are going to have to spend more time in those strikes if they rely on the Icebreaker to do that technique. You know?
I think it's interesting. I thought this was more, I mean, they may not have admitted this, but I thought it was more due to PvP. They didn't want people in PvP, the guy in Shores of Time, just staying in the back with his Icebreaker, killing your team. I thought it was a lot to do with that as well. Because, I mean, when they announced this nerf, I kind of almost went like, oh, it makes sense. Because I've been seeing more and more Icebreaker spam on PvP maps. People just stay in the back with Icebreaker.
Well, no, I see what you're saying. Like, I've seen a few in Trials. I've seen it on Shores of Time. The thing is, it's actually really balanced for PvP. You're giving up an exotic primary.
You can't pick up ammo for
hell of a kick. Yeah, you can't pick up ammo. Every time you die, you have to regenerate ammo, and it has a hell of a kick to it. Even though the hitbox on it is exceptional, that thing attracts targets, but the refire shot on it is very difficult to pick up. So I think it actually hurts PvP considerably now. If you have to wait 8 seconds.
PvP for it.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised.
It's kind of weird because even if they were doing it for PvP, it's one of those things where it was annoying to play against someone who was using nothing but the Icebreaker. We all, I think, are in agreement of that. But it was kind of thing where it was only a few people being outrageously, douchey, if you will, that were causing this to be any sort of problem. And it wasn't necessarily a go-to overpowered strategy.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Icebreaker is a time versus ammo type of trade-off. Like, you always get ammo guaranteed, but there's a time trade-off with it. And now that they extended it to 8 seconds per bullet, which it effectively makes it 6 bullets for the entire time to unload the whole thing. Because if you think about the fire rate and pickup shots and all that, before it was 8 shots, because there would be another 10 seconds that roll by with those first 6 shots that are fired. I don't know, I feel like that was a bad nerf. I
think you're totally right for PvE. It won't make a difference. You're just going to be hiding for longer.
Yeah, people are just going to wait. They're going to be like, all right, I guess I have to wait 3 more seconds per bullet.
I think Bungie made a mistake with the release of Vanilla Destiny, that some of the guns they released in that were just too good, right? They were just too strong. The Vex Mythic class was too strong. Yeah, Fatebringer falls into that category. Icebreaker, definitely.
Vision of Confluence.
Vision of Confluence. And I think that
do you think it's
they
okay
know
or
that
broken?
to move on, they need to pull back on some of these weapons. The legendaries, it's easy. We can leave the legendaries behind, right? We can just leave them behind.
Yeah, I do want to clarify something.
The next set of weapons can do 500 attack, whatever. But the exotics have got to come. They've got to come because people spent so much time, they've got so much time invested in getting
prizes.
These things. They've got to come, but they're much harder to balance because they got those exotic perks. We saw the Soros regime was like this huge weapon in PvP. They tried to balance that, but they messed up the whole metagame to do it, the Black Hammer is a legendary. Icebreaker, it's just like, how do you balance a gun that just regenerates ammo? There's only so much you can do to it. Do you make it do less damage? Do you make it regenerate ammo slower? Gallahorn, like, what do you do? This gun shoots 2 rockets at a time. It just does too much damage. What do you do to this thing? They've got limited options. I think they realized that they just kind of went too far with some of these weapons right out of the gate, and now they've got to kind of figure out a way to balance the future of Destiny. Like, what are they going to do? How are they ever going to make a better rocket launcher than Gallahorn? How are you ever going to be excited about getting a rocket launcher that's exotic?
Dragon's Breath.
They tried with Dragon's Breath, but Dragon's Breath is inferior in every way to Gallahorn. Gallahorn's got everything you want for PvP.
Oh, well, Dragon's
right?
Breath, it holds 3 rounds instead of 2.
Okay, so it can fire
That's
faster,
cool.
but it does considerably less damage, and all the bosses just walk outside of its area of effect damage, right?
I think that's a really good point, and there's the argument floating around. There was the argument floating around because people kind of knew this Galahorn nerf was coming for a long time. I'm sure you guys have heard the argument where, oh well, we should make things better in PvP, so it's not just the Galahorn instead of nerfing it. And of course, that's a little bit ridiculous. You can't have everything walk around like the Galahorn. But I think what you brought up about Dragon's Breath, that has no home, no place, and I think that they could revisit a lot of these exotics and a few legendaries and make them a little bit better for PvP, so you actually do have some choices. Which rocket launcher am I going to use for PvP? A couple of changes to the Dragon's Breath could make it very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I think it has potential. I also am disappointed that the elemental choice that they put it into with solar damage. I think
it can't be void. It's a fire Dragon's Breath.
Well,
it makes total sense for the design of the rocket launcher, but I totally get what you're saying about having...
I just don't see it. I think they should have released it later in another version with another set of maps. I think the timing of it would have been nice to see something else being used there, and I think they could get more creative with some of their exotics. I don't know. I like the concept of like the Mida multi-tool.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a weapon that is exotic because the perks that it give you additional like movement speed or this, that, or it changes the play style, not significantly, but enough that it becomes fun and an advantage, and it brings a different way to play the game. I think that's what the power of the exotics is, and Dragon's Breath just doesn't do that for me.
No, if it was art, though, I would have gone with it. There's a lot of times I would have rolled with it.
If it was art damage,
yeah. If it had shot like a
Tesla gun or something,
like an arc bolt, and and whatever it stuck to, it had a huge area effect, and it would just shoot out arcs of fry the enemy.
That sounds amazing.
My thing was just make it have a really fast rate of fire, but a low blast radius. So then and increase the magazine size to 4 or 5, so you go pop pop pop, fire off 3 quick, smaller blasts. Cool. But then then you have a big area of effect. Like make that area of effect thing its really signature perk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because it already is, but really build around that more. Looks like you just kind of knock that on.
I'm with you guys on Icebreaker being a poor choice, and I didn't have a whole lot of disagreements with this weapon tuning. I'm frustrated with this one in particular. I can't see the logic behind it. Whether I agree with it or not, like each one
behind
of these...
Icebreaker?
Behind Icebreaker.
Yeah.
Each one of these changes, I can see the logic behind it and be able to argue that point and maybe, respectfully disagree or not. But with this one, I just... It just escapes me on it, and I don't know. I really wish they had either maybe explained their themselves a little bit more, or I just don't see it. I don't see where it was coming from, and maybe that we just need more explanations.
Am I the only one also who feels that fusion rifles in PvE are completely left out? Because I never even see them or even consider using fusion rifles, because shotguns are just so much better right now.
Well, here's one of the things that you need to consider, that and the reason why I was scratching my head at first with the fusion rifle, but then I put it into context. Imagine all of these weapon changes being your reality. You're Bungie, right? And you're playtesting all of these in a sandbox where they're all live and active. Could, in that reality, fusion rifles be extremely powerful?
No.
Why? You just I disagree. You don't know that.
You're pulling back on shotgun damage. You're pulling back on its range.
Only 10% though. I feel like the shotguns that were extremely good.
Shot package got nerfed.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. When you go into Prison of Elders and you want to use a secondary weapon, or, for example, when you're using what's the shotgun from the Vault of Glass?
Foundry.
That thing.
Foundry.
That thing is so amazing. And have you ever tried to switch to a fusion rifle, then you shoot a Reaver Captain and it does
you're
damage.
You're missing my point. You're still talking about Prison of Elders now. With all of these weapons in effect, with all of these changes in effect, could the fusion rifle be powerful?
Gotcha.
I
Yes.
still
Yeah.
don't
No,
believe
I
it.
see your point. I see your
could
point.
be, because you don't understand, like, it's like throwing a rock in a pond and all the waves ripple out. So imagine this was a handful of rocks that they just threw into a lake.
Well, I
Now-
get the analogy. I get
All
I get
right, I
the
know.
point, but I still don't believe that it's possible. The main reason is, like, okay, just in the terms of secondaries, shotguns outperform fusion rifles hands down. I'm not even talking about the range of the shotguns right now, just the damage alone. And if I'm right in that patch, I didn't see anything that was going to address fusion rifle damage in PvE.
Exactly.
And that's
And you've also-
the
Shotguns are getting nerfed.
it
But you-
doesn't
but you-
no, it's a
Yeah.
10% nerf.
I think Patrick, you go back to. I think we need to start talking about code here. You can't. We're not talking about levers on a. Sometimes when you affect the code of something, right, it has rippling effects.
I completely understand that. Like
All right,
I understand these things.
Well, I know you do. I'm just saying, like, for the people that are listening, I believe that what's happening is we're seeing the invisible hand at work. They made all these changes, and in playtesting, they realized that the fusion rifle then stopped being, the fusion rifle ended up being. I'm being hypothetical, right? I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Why are we seeing a fusion rifle nerf? In my opinion, because it's not
it's
powerful
kind of a half
now.
nerf, half
Well,
buff.
Right.
See, okay, hold on. Here's the thing that could happen, though, because what we are not experiencing is the changes of the shotguns with shot package being nerfed and then rangefinder getting reduced to 5% and all that. That means that the shotguns are not going to have the kind of range that we were used to, which is awesome, because the times when you thought that you were going to get a kill with that Matador and it turns out that the shot package spread just wasn't quite right, that's going to happen even more, so you're going to have to rely on closer kills with those shotguns, which means that there might be some possibilities where you might prefer a medium range fusion rifle.
You are totally
Yeah.
right, but I'm specifically just talking about PvE, like not PvP at all. I totally understand I think that they're at a good position. I'm only arguing I wish because you got to also make the point that, this game once upon a time released. And at that point they said, they were like, all right, we're happy with shotguns being balanced with fusion rifles. They said, all right, this is balanced for PvE. Then shotguns were doubled
No.
in
Fusion
damage for
rifles
PvE.
were never meant to be a comparison to shotguns.
No, but I'm just like comparison in the terms of
They're-
you have a
they're-
reason to use one over another.
Right, but they were never intended to be short. The fusion rifles were intended to be mid-range.
I totally agree with that, but shotguns were doubled in damage if fusion rifles were let alone, and anytime I play Destiny, even when I'm doing strikes, using fusion rifles simply isn't an option. I just don't see where this change, even if they're nerfing shotguns by 10%, is going to make fusion rifles even at all
More
viable
relevant.
in PvE.
I think
Especially
we're
if you're
going to
doing
have
high
to
level
wait for the
content.
Taken King
If you're doing
to-
a raid that
to-
is
to
your
make these
level.
decisions. I really don't think we can predict this because, when shotguns got buffed, they got 100% extra damage. Nobody realized that everybody was going to be running around with Found Verdict in every encounter.
Yeah, true.
Right? Like, it took us a week or two to figure this stuff out. This stuff, it's all connected, like Pope is saying. It's like you make a twist over here on a fusion rifle, and it affects 3 other types of weapons. To make judgments now, I think, is a bit of a mistake.
I
because
100% agree with you, but I think the reason that myself and a lot of people are trying to make these predictions for what's going to go well down the line is because it was so long between this buff and the last buff was, and we want to get everything right. I think that if Bungie kind of stepped up their game in terms of even just communicating with us and also just having a little bit less time between these changes, we could then more comfortably say, all right, here are the changes for this patch, let's see this through. Okay, here are the changes you need to make for the next one.
Mm-hmm.
But right now everyone's panicking.
I think you highlighted something that's really important to the community is more frequent updates and communication. And if you look at last week's update, Luke Smith points that out directly, is that, and Sage also points that out directly, is that a goal of theirs is to be more communicative and to apply more frequent updates. I think that you're saying something that is on their mind and they agree with. I could not agree more with you, Rick. It's been way too freaking long for this update, and some of the emotions, it's confusing the issue, because some of the emotions that we're hearing and feeling right now are a result of people having to wait as long as they did.
Especially, you got to consider, the last word, that was a glitch, right? Like, it was never supposed to get that bonus when aiming down sights, and it still takes them that that was ridiculous. And then that length of time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think we're coming to like a consensus here. Like, I think that people were left to wither on the thorny vine too long.
Yeah, I get it.
Could possibly have needed something sooner than waiting until the last word for Bungie to let us know what they're doing. I think we're looking at something much more than just simply putting the black hammer down. I think this should have been done more frequently.
It's a good way
to
ice the
Someone
breaker.
Someone should send Pope Bear to the penitentiary for that one as your punishment.
That's for my buddy Legend Blue. All right, so
real talk though.
I think that's what we're seeing here, is that this is a cathartic experience. People are pissed. They're like, they want this to be the perfect update, and they don't believe that these are going to be more frequent in the future.
I think that I just want to say one more thing on your point, and I think it's very important, is I think you're totally right about people being super emotional. That's why everyone is so mad about the Black Hammer, even when people can kind of see it's Black Hammer in addition to some other weapons, and that's because they think there's no hope, right? If it gets nerfed and it's nerfed too much, it's basically going to stay nerfed forever, considering how long it takes them for these updates, right? So that's one of the worries of people, is they're worried that if it's nerfed too harshly, it's the end. It's just going to be crap for God knows how many days, right?
It's odd, too, because up until the last big update, it seemed like updates were coming all the time for weapons.
Oh, yeah.
They were tweaking them all over the place, and then it just stopped. And we're stuck in the current meta for so long.
They got scared. I mean, you can imagine. You see the backlashes that have happened and the kind of community reaction. They have to take this cautiously at this point, because we are going to roar. We're going to be very bitey.
Can we talk about this week's weekly update?
I really want to, yeah. There's some cool stuff.
I guess.
Oh, there's a couple things we can talk about.
I did before we switch.
You
I had one thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, I got.
Does it have something to do with?
It has something to do with legendary hand cannons and why the hell they decided to nerf the magazines on all of them. It's
I can understand why.
Yeah, I can understand why too.
Yeah, the 3-hit kill. If you're precise,
There wasn't a big enough difference between scout rifles and hand cannons, the way it was.
Yeah, if you look at the
now.
weapons, it's like auto rifles are kind of close to medium range, and then the rest are just medium to long range with wasn't much play.
Hand cannons aren't supposed to be long range, though.
They're not supposed to be, but tell that to everyone who snipes you with a thorn from across the map.
Right, but post taking King, they're not supposed to.
No, totally.
Be, And here's a couple things.
That's actually
so happy about
why
that.
I'm mad about that change. Looking at all the changes that are coming to all the weapons, because
Yeah.
look at everything that's changing about scout rifles. We're seeing more magazine size increase. We're seeing the scopes are all longer range options. There's a damage increase going in there for PvE, and then for hand cannons, they're nerfing the range on them, nerfing their accuracy range, and nerfing like how you can't rapidly shoot them. You have to take your time in between shots if you're wanting to shoot at range. So it's like, okay.
I'm with Patrick on this one.
It needs to be a precision weapon. That's what it was designed to be. It's a precision weapon. The way it stands now is you can just spam that trigger and get the kill.
Briar, but the fix that the reducing the magazine size only affects the top tier 10% of the hand cannons. There's a whole bunch of hand cannons that had a 6 to 8 round magazine that this is going to affect. That
You're saying this because of Tamir's Lash, because you love Tamir's Lash.
Maybe. Why do you gotta call me out like that, Tefty?
Wouldn't reducing the magazine size make them better because everyone's just using luck in the chamber and final round anyways? Like when they roll stuff like the ill will and then they get that roll.
Let's not
It's
talk
like
about
insane.
how you can reload cancel hand cannons. That's what I'm talking about. Stupid.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying, and I do think that there's going to be a weird gray area between, like, auto rifles and hand cannons are going to share some strange territory again, because of those type of nerfs. Because technically, the auto rifle should be your go-to close range weapon, and I think hand cannons are still going to be the go-to close range.
Well, it's okay to have two weapons that do similar things at similar ranges. You just have choices at that point.
Yeah.
The problem was
was
that hand cannons were scout rifles.
Right.
They were completely effective at every range.
That's it.
Okay.
Unbelievably effective.
So my
and if you
two
weren't completely accurate with them, it didn't matter because you had enough ammo in there to keep firing.
That's it.
So my two complaints with the last word and Thorn is I can't believe they decided to make it stack up to 5 times. That's crazy because then teams of 5 and 6 are going to go in with all Thorn, and it's going to still be the same thing. And the second thing is the last
Doesn't
word.
it always stack up to five times though, and then it doesn't stack beyond that?
It doesn't stack beyond that.
It doesn't stack beyond that, but still 5 times stack is more than what it was before. If you have a team of 5 and they're team shotting like crazy,
Well, you'll be dead just by the initial damage alone. It's mainly supposed to be a PvE buff, which I'm completely happy for. That's awesome.
It's a PvE buff, yeah.
The Thorn change.
I actually didn't think about it because I never used Thorn in PvE.
It doesn't feel
Yeah,
substantial
it actually
enough for
that's
PvE.
what they're trying to address, Tefty, is that people were not using Thorn in PvE, and it really should be a viable option because damage over time for shielded bosses is a really strong thing.
Yeah,
and
very
if
strong.
they made it more relevant in PvE,
I would prefer them to just completely nerf the shit out of it in PvP and not even care about PvE. But that's just me because I hate that weapon.
Well, yeah, but you got to I think also there's a huge, like, I find myself, I came from a PvP background, and I'm finding myself spending more and more and more time in PvE, and I'm enjoying
I'm the
PvE.
opposite.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying PvE way more than I am PvP right now, mainly because the meta in PvP just sucks donkey. So
I will second that.
So for me, spending
totally.
time in PvE, that's where I get my enjoyment. I would like to see some of these creative guns that I use in PvP being relevant in PvE. So I like that.
Like fusion rifles?
Exactly. And fusion rifles are very I was going to comment earlier. I use fusion rifles all the time in PvE because when you're working as a team, one fusion rifle burst with an elemental damage will take off the shield of a boss like that in one shot.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're extremely effective
Sometimes.
in taking out.
Yeah.
I guess if you're fighting a yellow high,
in Prison Elders 35, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the difference is a
35,
found verdict
yeah.
shot will take down a shield of any type, and then it has 5 more follow-up shots to take down whatever enemy you're fighting,
No, Found
It's-
Verdict, if you're a major in 35, still one shot a shield off.
Well, and also
Pretty close.
you're in his face.
It gets close, but yeah.
If you're with a fusion rifle, the charge time and you're at medium range, you can take off the majority of a shield with that, if not all of it, with a fusion
I'm a
rifle.
Titan, so I'm never not in someone's face.
There you go.
And I think that I sometimes fall into that same rut where I feel myself like gravitating or looking at this from strictly a my class specific choice or what I choose to do in PvP. And one of the things that I was reminded on Twitter from last week's podcast is that we need to be cognizant of the fact that that there's people that play PvE.
Mm-hmm.
And in that sense, I would like to see these changes be effective in PvE so that Thorn, Last Word, Mida Multi-Tool, and these PvP-centered guns can make their way into PvE.
I totally agree.
Yeah, so with Last Word, they've dropped the range from 20 to 10. And it seems like, oh, cool, that's going to do something. I feel like it needed more of a range drop because if you look at it in a sense of a scale, they took 10% off.
Well,
I don't know if the code actually
they also
transfers
took
like that.
the stability off, and I think they're trying to get you to go for
Hipfire kills.
Hipfire, yeah.
They're trying to get you to go for smart drift control, as opposed
They
to
also
aggressive
changed
ballistics.
the way range works.
They did
We'll
change
have
the way
to really
range works.
experiment with that. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just worried that it's still going to
May be
be.
a much bigger change now than what we're used to.
As long
Right.
as it's not
I'm
getting
just
like,
looking at
those
those numbers,
headshot
and I'm thinking that
bonuses.
it's going to be it's still going to be one of those weapons where you're like, I can't believe I just got last worded from down the hallway when
Yeah.
it should be like this
When I'm using a scout
high
rifle,
risk. Yeah, it should be
Yeah,
a high
no.
risk, high reward type of hand cannon. And it
Well,
should
now that they
remain
fixed
way.
the glitch where you aim down sights, you get the bonus. I think that's going to be. I mean, it's going to be hard to not aim down sights and get 2 headshot kills, right? It's
Mhm.
pretty difficult to be hip firing everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm excited for the changes because personally, I love the feeling of running around and firing hip fire, and I always found myself trying to get that bonus glitch, in reverse quickscoping with it, just because it was there. And now, and if they fix that, and now I can be more of a gunslinger type, hip fire shooting, running around. That run and gun play style is something that I really enjoy, and really don't find a weapon that is suitable for it. I used to enjoy SMGs in Call of Duty.
You get a Monte Carlo, bruh.
Right, and
Yeah.
with the buff, I'm thinking Monte Carlo, and I'm gonna guess that some of my favorite hand cannons, like Timur's Lash, as far as an impact related gun is concerned, are going to be my go-to weapons in PvP. So
You mentioned auto rifles, and I really hope they buff auto rifles properly. I mean, even just increasing the damage is going to help, but stuff like the fast shooting auto rifles, those have really never been good in
been
PvP.
useful.
I really hope they kind of spend time just on those to make those usable. Because right now it's only the slow shooting, very accurate
The
assault
summoner.
rifles
It's just the
yeah.
summoner.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the only one. It's the only one that's really useful. But seriously, weapon foundries are out now.
Mm-hmm.
They
So excited.
from what I got to play at E3, each weapon, I've said it a lot before, but each weapon really does feel really different. From a Hake, you can tell from a Suros, from an Omelon.
agreed.
Yeah, they're really solid. And we got to reveal a little bit about what each type will actually have. Hake weapons, the perks will be really just suited around dealing damage. They want those weapons to be hard hitting, yada yada yada. The Suros weapons want you to be completely customizable. You can go from a long range to a close quarters to a hard hitting to a fast hitting, a ton of different stuff. And the Omelon ones, I didn't really understand what those were going to be about. I can't remember.
They look
at least.
cool.
But there's going to be
Alien
some
technology.
alien technology, and using liquid
They
is
have bubbles.
yeah.
they're going to offer. They're going to be the only weapons that offer 3 perks. The only legendary weapons.
Yeah,
that offer
that's it.
3 perks. And there's going to be 2 binary choices in the last column, which means that you're going to have to make a choice between 2 specific perks in the last column for Omelon. Which I think is interesting alone, is that their perk trees are going to look different between the different manufacturers.
That's really cool.
Which is amazing, because one of my biggest fears when I first kind of saw these guns, I remember thinking, wow, those look amazing. But then I remember seeing a scout rifle shoot, and it was doing the same damage as all the other scout rifles. And I just remember thinking, crap, it's just copy pasted guns with different skins. But thankfully, from what you guys have said, I didn't get to play the Taken King yet. But thankfully, from what you guys have said and for what Bungie have said, it's not like that. That they haven't just copied and pasted the guns. There's actual differences, and there's a lot more variety in gameplay now.
Yeah, I really like the Omelon weapons from what I got to try out. They're all felt really quick. That was really nice. Plus, the sights on the scout rifle had this highlight that would go around people. So, if you're looking through a smoke grenade from the new Hunter subclass, you could see someone through that smoke grenade with that with that specific scope.
I
They're going to
really
be weighted toward faster handling, so faster reloads, faster
equip
snapping up
times,
to
yada, yada.
ADS. Yeah.
I like the Omelon a lot, and simply because I hope that we're seeing the entrance of lasers. Yeah.
Dude.
Pew, pew.
Laser
I hope we have
beams.
freaking laser beams.
I want a laser sniper rifle.
Yeah, I
want
really want a laser sniper.
I think we're gonna see it. I hope we're gonna see
I
it.
hope so.
Uh,
I want a customizable laser sniper rifle.
And I think that's one of the things that Patrick, I think you hinted on it, but I want to like spend a little bit more time with it.
Uh-huh.
The scopes are going to be very, very unique.
Yeah.
And you know how when you played Call of Duty and you had the heat scope, like the
thermal scope,
thermal scope and the infrared, and there was those kind of types, you're going to see a lot of the grenades and stuff that you're going to see in there, like smoke grenades, you know, and different types of grenades are going to obscure vision as well as a path of travel. You're going to see these weapons being able to be utilized in those situations. And so I think that what excites me is that some of the visual, like tactical, like what you choose, the scope you choose, and it's going to be different for each. I saw 3 different types of like thermal imaging type scopes. Right, Patrick?
I saw 2 different types. You got to play a little bit longer than me.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that because I felt that they could always really increase customization with changing the scopes. Because like you said, there's so many, you could have thermal scopes, target tracking scopes, variable zoom scopes, like honestly kind of take a page out of, I hate to say it, but Call of Duty in terms of all the different scopes you can get, which is absolutely insane. And also like, having a thermal zoom or like a thermal scope where you can have a slight advantage because you can see the guy that maybe you didn't see. He's hiding in the bushes. That's awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. As long as it's balanced.
Yeah.
The Omelon one felt balanced. Like it just gave you like a very small highlight. You can see it in some of the videos that are on the channel because I think that's the only primary that I use.
I found in the Omelon scope for the scout rifle was super effective when you're looking at a game like mode like Rift, where people will throw smoke grenades down to be able to get the objective because it takes a couple seconds to grab the rift that's in the center of the map. And so tactical gameplay becomes in your grenade class, right? It becomes important to be able to, smoke out the middle so that you can your teammates can get the rift. So that those scopes became really viable, and it felt like it was a solid change and something that you gave up a little bit of performance in a different way but gained visibility in another. So
nice.
So it's not just the scopes either, it's the design of the weapon is very distinctive between
feels different.
You can tell what people are using by looking at them.
They have distinct design kind of philosophies.
Right.
And I thought that was really interesting that they put that right into the weekly update. They actually put in these design pillars, which really kind of showed off and speaks to what these weapons are designed, like how they're designed, what the philosophy is, and it shows in the design of each weapon. Like the Hake weapons look very modern, to us modern, right? Is they look like they're almost 20th century weapons. They look like something that we would feel familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And the Omelon weapons look almost like, futuristic Star Trek kind of thing, very cool. And then the Suros stuff looks very much like the Suros regime, very sleek, very design focused, very form over function.
It reminds me of Mass Effect a little bit.
Mass Effect.
Yeah.
It's the Ferrari of weapons.
And one of the things for the Suros was, this is my sword. That's one of the design pillars. And I love that. Just right off the bat, it spoke to me. I loved it because not only will you get this awesome looking auto rifle or whatever, but you'll also be able to customize it based on the situation you're in. So it'll be more useful. Let's say you get the rocket launcher, the Suros rocket launcher. Maybe you could switch between, I don't know, grenades and horseshoes or tracking. How cool would that be?
Something tells me we're not going to be seeing grenades and horseshoes.
I hope they continue
on those anymore.
Yeah, I hope they continue this design trend of what we've seen, into the exotics. Like not all of them, of course, but it'd be so cool that you've made a bit emphasis on these companies basically. And now you can say, you have some of the exotics like Suros prototypes and stuff, and you get these really cool, and they just really emphasize these different companies making these different guns.
Yeah.
I think that'd be pretty sweet.
The Hardlight looks like it was designed by Omelon.
Oh, it fit right into that, which was awesome.
And the Suros totally fits in with the current Suros design. I think even the newer stuff is even more sleek looking than the Suros regime.
Does
the
Hawkeye
old
anything?
Suros, like blues and greens, didn't really fit.
Hawkeye is only on like some greens and blue weapons. It's not on any of the normal ones, and they look really just basic.
They should just have an exotic. It's just an AK-47. And they say that's it. It's just...
They also show the
Hawkeye
Hawkeye armor.
Hawkeye.
I wonder if there's going to be Omelon and Suros armor as well.
Yeah,
That would be really cool. I want to
it'd be
see
fun.
Suros armor.
It'd be fun if you're like, I'm going to have a Omelon challenge where you go in only Omelon armor and weapons.
That would be fun,
into
yeah.
Crucible,
Yeah.
you know? And
But
hockey and all that, yeah.
like the Suros armor, I could see looking very, very cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of armor, what did you guys see when you went to do the Taken King stuff about the differences in that new customization with armor instead of weapons?
From what I remember seeing, we just saw like standard armor. We didn't see any Foundry type armor, I don't think. I really can't remember.
I don't think anything really stood out to me. There was some armor from the factions there.
Yeah.
But what stood out to me was the color choices and things like that seemed to be much more design oriented. They bright and popped out a little bit. And one of the things that I think that they're doing is they're divorcing themselves from the need of a weapon to have to look functional in our current modern philosophy of what guns should look like.
Mm-hmm.
So the guns then could become more released of that burden. I think the guns became much more creative in their design and look and feel, and allowed the designers and artists to be more creative. And I think that's what we're seeing here.
I absolutely love the look of that Suros scout rifle. Like that just
I was going to say.
perfectly embodies
so
a
cool.
scout rifle to me.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. A little bullpup design.
Yeah. Bullpup,
Yeah,
like
it
just
will also
very very small. Feels like a scout rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's also going to be class-specific guns.
Yeah.
Class specific,
That-
faction specific, quest guns.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think a class-specific gun would entail? Does that mean it's going to be more useful for a certain
The
class,
Titan
or
one just
only
throws a
used
fist
by a
at you.
certain
It just punches you. That should be the
No,
Titan
but
gun.
then when you use it, it misses because it can't reach.
Oh.
Because it got
Yeah.
T-Rex
Yeah,
arms.
T-Rex.
It just
It only
flops down
shoots
at their
a
feet.
foot and a half.
That would actually be the perfect like Titan gun. Is like a rock launcher that shoots a fist. It's an instant kill, but it just goes like 1 foot and then hits the ground.
Yeah, they made it.
I would
It's
love
called
to
the
see
fourth
like a Winchester repeater rifle for hunters, a crossbow or something like that. That just
Do you
feels
think
very
it, so,
hunterish.
Patrick? Do you think it would only be useful for a hunter because they would just say this is a hunter-only weapon, or do you think it would synergize somehow with hunter-specific abilities? Like
It might be that
you know,
can.
so a lot of people say the bad juju and warlocks just go hand in hand because it just synergizes so well with the Obsidian mind that you feel like you're always throwing out Nova bombs. Could it be in that vein and just less useful for, say, a Titan, or would it just be restricted to use on a hunter?
It might be restricted to use on a hunter. I wouldn't doubt seeing that at all. It would give each like class a very specific feel. So like, say you get killed by that in the Crucible, you know you got killed by a hunter before anything else, because I
true.
see that I got killed by a crossbow. Yep, that's a hunter.
That's
It's
one
not-
way to go. I prefer the other way. I'd really love
Yeah.
to see him like just make stuff really synergistic with certain classes. You could still use it on another class. Like, it's
It
still
could just
there.
give a specific perk that is only effective on like a specific class, like getting a kill causes your next throwing knife to deal increased damage, something like that.
Your
Yeah.
arc bolt goes a
They
little
they
further.
really could go wild with the perks. There's so much creativity that they could have with new weapon perks and especially new armor perks. And what you said exactly, you could have a gun that you could reroll to get hunter specific perks or whatever class you're playing, and that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm. I also could see that they would make weapons restricted to class types also, because they already do that with their armor for obvious reasons. So it's not that far fetched that they could be like, well, here's a set of weapons that are restricted to hunters, warlocks, titans, and so on and so forth. And maybe they would put the perk specific things rolling only for them, like your lightning grenade lasts for 20 million hours.
Do you think that would be restricted to exotics? So your exotic weapon would be class specific, kind of like exotic armor?
I think it would make the most sense to first do it as exotic and then later on introduce legendaries, but I don't know.
If you do it as exotic, though, you're stuck with it until Destiny 2. If you do it as a legendary, you can leave it behind.
Trash it.
How crazy do you think the community would get if they gave a Titan specific shotgun that granted the Titan blink?
One notable thing about Blink
overrides jump with Blink. Wow.
Yeah, Sage did say something in the last week's weekly update, the actual weekly update, not just the weapon balance part that we never actually covered. There was the weekly update, and he, at the very end of it, he said, "I'm working hard on finding a way to actually balance Blink, and not just remove it from the game, essentially."
Right.
What about just blinking once and then having a cooldown? Like, not as long as a cooldown as it is now, but like a slight cooldown. Because it sucks when you just get blinked and you're like, well, he's on top of me. Then you hear the other blink and you're like, well, I don't know where he is now.
I think they should.
That's just an idea.
They need to remove the invulnerable frames from it for PvP. They need to make it so you can't stop. You can't negate damage with it. Like you can just blink out of a rocket. You can blink out of a sticky grenade. Like there's so much stuff that you can just negate with blink with a jump.
Yeah,
and it's not available to all classes. That's the other thing with me. But I think we've gone over blink.
Hey, Titan don't need no blink.
Yeah,
we don't want to be part of that.
An awful lot.
Yeah.
The Gunsmith will have a new way to include you in his enterprise. What do you think that means?
Sell your guns, trade your guns. Could you imagine?
I don't know. Maybe he'll sell some weapon parts so we can reforge shit.
That'd be great.
I don't know. It's interesting how he says he will include you in his enterprise.
It's gonna be more sexy talk.
Almost like you'll be working for him somehow.
He's always so cool.
I think that actually makes most sense. He just has some quests to go, more quests to go, or he becomes the Gunsmith becomes kind of like a weekly quest figure like Eris. Essentially, and has all these gunsmith quests, and then you're often awarded weapons for doing them.
Well, I also took it partly as these foundries are going to have components and maybe schematics potentially. I could be completely off my rocker on this one. But I took it almost as if there was going to be some sort of requirement / schematic / parts / thing that goes on to actually get these type of foundry weapons, instead of them just being pure drops all the time. Or maybe they are pure drops, but if you want to have the customizable features, because they said these are going to be, there's a customizable element to them that maybe the gunsmith plays a critical role in that. You talk to the gunsmith and he's like, hey, baby. And I'm like, yeah, I want to customize my Omelon to be a laser sniper. I'm like, thank you.
So what if you got like a weapon like the Soros regime, right? That's an old weapon, and I'm just going to use the perks that are on it. But what if you completed a certain quest to get focus fire, or did a different quest and you got a different perk? You got, better hip fire. What if you had to make the decision when you did the quest, and that gun forever was that way?
Yeah, I could see it happening that way. So instead of just you're chucking in regular spin metal or whatever, you actually have to go and get the piece for this next node.
Yeah. To
unlock in that exotic. I could totally see it going that way. Yeah, that would be really cool.
More quests will lead you directly to specific guns. I think we're going to see a lot more stuff like the Thorn Bounty too.
Mm-hmm. Good. Thorn Bounty is one of the few bounties that's done correctly in the game.
Yeah, I like how they've said that. Well, the Invective Bounty isn't terrible.
It's not terrible, but I don't like it. I don't like it where it's like you need to go repeatedly do a specific type of activity. I prefer, a story-driven quest.
Yeah, Thorn I think is perfect. You have to do a bunch of specific tasks in order. You have to play a little PvP. You got to play a little PvE. You got to run the summoning pits, like a special version of the summoning pits, which I think is cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's really why it's cool, is because you have to go kill Zor at the end, or Zyre, or however you want to pronounce it.
Zyre.
And then
Zyre. Unfortunately, I remember when I was in the comment section of some of the videos I made about the Thorn, because of it is kind of hard to get, you got the people who are being like, no, it's supposed to be this good. It's hard to get. And I was like, no, please.
It's not supposed to be.
But then again, then you get the Necrochasm, which is
garbage, yeah.
Hopefully getting better. Hopefully getting better.
Yeah, it could be the new thing.
Nope. It won't be. It's not
Anybody got early picks on the best manufacturer, the best foundry?
Hawkeye. If Hawkeye is damaged, then Hawkeye.
I want Omelon to be awesome because it just looks cool.
I
want that sniper.
I'm on all three right now. Like I love that Soros scout rifle. All the Hawkeye weapons sound good.
This is my sword.
And they have function. Give them form.
Listen. Hawkeye is Indiana Jones, and you are the guy with the sword, and Hawkeye just shoots your sword.
I figured Tex Mecano would be more Indiana Jones, but that's just me.
Okay, well,
Soros' elegance a bit.
Stop making good points.
What do you guys think is going to happen with the Vanguard, Crucible, and also the faction weapons?
They better
How
add
do you think that's gonna...
They better add ships and shaders to Vanguard because I'm like rank 90 something Vanguard on my hunter. I want to get a ship for it.
No, I mean weapon wise.
I know.
Do you think they're going to continue the same path, like have Vanguard, Crucible, Dead Orbit, New Monarchy, Future War Cult weapons and armor, and then also introduce these new foundries? Or do you think the foundries are going to come in and take over? Like, what do you guys think?
I think we'll see the
that's an
foundry
interesting
ones
point.
being sold at the Vanguard.
That's
the
an
Vanguard.
interesting point. Like, if you have New Monarchy, are they going to sell Suros weapons? Do you guys know that? Like,
I think they say that they're going to still have New Monarchy weapons.
Yeah.
They still say they're going to have faction weapons.
Yeah,
Faction
they're going to
will
have faction
their own
weapons,
guns,
so
they specifically say.
yeah.
just like old style of weapons, but for the factions.
Yeah.
Like, they continue the trend of what they're doing now, and then
Well,
through
it
engrams
says-
and quests and stuff, we have these new factions.
will have their own guns. It's a one sentence. So,
Okay.
don't read
Well,
too much into
like
it.
that.
but-
That's my thing. Is
I'm
like
trying, Brian,
they
I'm trying.
You gotta
already-
read between
they
the lines.
already
Robert,
have their
between
own
the
guns.
lines.
It just seems like the foundries are coming in and they look badass.
Yeah.
And then these, like I want the New Monarchy to still be cool, but at the same time, I'm looking at the Omelon and the Suros. I'm going to be like, probably going to be rocking those for a while.
Well, are there going to be are you going to have to earn rep on these new?
Yeah, I mean, are they like a new faction basically?
I don't think they'll go that far. I don't think they'll go that far.
Yeah.
I think it'll just be like random rewards, something like that, or not random rewards, but like quest lines, finding them places. It seems like they're probably gonna move away from the random.
I really hope it is in that vein where you use the Gunsmith, and the Gunsmith is critical for transferring these unique parts that you find to get these cool Foundry weapons. I really hope it's something like that. Because I like the quest line type of thing. I like the fact that you have to go and earn that weapon, even though it might be a pain in the butt.
It's like the Vestian Dynasty. It's so simple. So simple to earn that weapon.
Yeah.
Well, it's there's more of a story to it. You feel like you earned it more than if you just got it to drop on a Nightfall drop. Yeah. I don't know where my Galahorn came from. I don't remember. I don't know where my last word came from. I don't remember. I remember where my Thorn came from.
I remember where my Galahorns came from. Oh, yes.
That's one of the most contentious things you can do on stream is get a Galahorn and then you're like, ah, crap, I got 4 of these, and then you just delete it.
I've done that like 3 or 4 times now.
And it just people are like, ah.
I was getting yelled at because I had just one sitting in my Postmaster, just kind of like hanging out.
Oh, you know what was horrible?
I dismantled a Hawkmoon on stream.
Oh, you did not.
Does anyone else feel really bad every time they abandon one of the exotic quests from the Prison of Elders? Because considering how many people don't have those.
No,
yeah.
I'm actually working on that last one right now.
Just me. Never mind.
Well, they seem like a lot of work.
Yeah, it's really interesting because when we play a lot, right? And for a lot of people that they don't play a lot, they don't see these fall that often, and it's hard for them to see somebody be like, you're like, oh, I'm happy for you, you got the Galahorn, and you're like, I already got it. I've been doing like, yeah, all right, I got the Galahorn, and then when I'm not streaming, I delete it.
Oh, I delete it. Just do it.
I delete in front of everyone. They need to know.
The salt. I am
real.
sustained by it.
I'm sustained by salt.
I think Robbie V was watching, and he wasn't watching, but I told him when he was watching the stream later that I dismantled the Hawkman on stream, and I apologized, and then sort of Kappa,
Right. Well, and Mesa Sean has been hunting for
Thunderlord.
the Thunderlord, and
good lord.
The last night,
nice pun.
A couple nights on stream, I got 2 Thunderlords, and then I went to my vault and I had a third, and I'm just like, ugh. So I sent him a little video clip of me dismantling 3 Thunderlords back to back. And
wow, you would have made him mad lightning fast.
Dirty.
It was just mad, it was shocking. Yeah.
Oh.
You guys want to talk about the changes to trials this weekend?
Yeah.
You know what? Something that is important in trials is getting
Kills.
Kills.
Lots of kills.
Kills relate to XP, and it's always exciting to
Slow
get
down,
more XP.
slow down.
7FXR H337 just might help you.
I'm just gonna have to say real quick that I put out a tweet and I said, "Thank God Cauldron is over. I hate that map. It is the worst map ever."
No, sir.
And then I see this Bungie update and they're like,
Oh,
"Oh, we're
man.
gonna have random rotations on." And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Can we just have random rotations without Cauldron? That would be much better."
Yeah.
I despise
Broke
Cauldron.
my heart.
Like 60% Thorn, 20% shotguns. on
It's the
Cauldron.
doors.
Last word. Don't forget about last word.
Last word doesn't even factor in.
If the doors were not there, my approval of that map would jump maybe 20 to 30%.
Yeah.
I'd still not like it, but I'd be like, it's okay. I can snipe through the doors.
I've been out of the loop for a little bit because I just had I had a week-long vacation. I was back for less than a week and another week-long vacation. So I'm going to say something, and I hope I don't make a fool of myself. But they definitely need to switch spawns. They haven't adjusted that, right?
No, they have not adjusted it yet.
Okay, good.
That's
Yeah,
one
what the
thing
hell?
that needs to happen.
Yep.
Because what's the one with the church black?
Widow's
it's
Court.
Widow's Court.
that one is probably. It's just like if you have upper spawn and you just Widow's Court. If you have upper spawn and you can just hide behind those waist high walls, basically you're. It's just such an advantage, and yeah, you can kind of exploit that. But I'm just thinking of two normal just normal people, and not teams that are extremely good and thinking ahead of. I have bottom spawn. I need to exploit these people by moving here. Most people just they load in and they play, and you have kind of an advantage on one side. That shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. So far, I think the only map that is balanced with spawns is Burning Shrine.
But you get the sun.
Yeah, but you can go around. You can still do some flanking opportunities and all that. With Widow's Court, there's definitely an advantage on top.
Oh,
if you're
yeah.
good with snipers. If you're bad with snipers and you're a shotgun, then it's rough.
A lot of people have kind of been not making this as big of an issue because if you play it a lot, you really learn it, and then you know what I mean. You kind of are not that disappointed if you get kind of quote unquote the worst spawn because you kind of have your own way that your team does of exploiting their spawn, and you kind of know what they're gonna do to be in an advantageous position. But again, for most people, they don't think that way, and they're pretty disadvantaged if they get a bad spawn.
Is it just me, or do you think that in PvP, a solution to some of these problems of map positioning and control could be the area of targeting for your radar? I believe
That could be a factor for
I
sure.
believe that reducing, because most of the maps are very close quarters and medium-sized maps. And I believe that if you reduced, especially in PvP, the size or diameter of when something shows up on your radar, it would help for what Tefty is referring to on Burning Shrine. The reason why it's somewhat balanced is because the flanking route is outside of the enemy positions. You have to be mid-map, slightly over to catch somebody. You can't sit in one place and cover both flanks on your radar.
Right.
You actually have to move to engage that. That's why I think it happens that way.
I think limiting the size of the radar would actually promote shotgun play even more because you wouldn't.
Yeah, at least it gives you fair warning.
You get a good fair warning right now, right? If you reduce that even more, you would not have a fair warning. It would be pretty rough.
I would be
I'm not
willing
talking
to just
by a
take a
lot.
look in a test build. I would definitely be willing to play it that way.
Yeah, I'm not.
Even
I'm
if
not
they
talking
did
about a
1
lot,
week of
yeah.
Inferno with a smaller radar instead of no radar, I think it'd be interesting, Pope. I like that idea.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about a lot. I'm talking maybe 5% reduction. Just bring it in a little bit so
Just a
that
little
some
bit,
of the other maps like Cauldron, which have a very tight in feel, will allow a player that isn't a team that's not. Think of the changes that it makes. It makes a team spread out to cover the flanks. Right now, as it stands, you can all be clumped together and still manage to control the map. That's not the way it should be. You should have to spread your players out and use voice communication to say they're pushing up on my right or left. And so not to belabor the point, but it's something that came up when I was playing PvP last week. Is I'm like, man, you know what? I shouldn't be able to stand here and know that guy's flanking on the
Around
other
it.
side of the map. You know, it just didn't seem right.
They also
Yeah.
could have more play with, with the radar. There was the perk in the Taken King, remember it would make your radar more accurate. And I think they could kind of play on this idea, have gun or armor perks that makes your radar bigger or more accurate, and you'd maybe even see a dot. And so that would kind of allow people to have a lot more differentiated strategies.
Oh man, a Halo dot would be way overpowered.
Well, okay, maybe
In the
not
Crucible.
the dot, maybe not like the Black Ops
Well, think about a
Blackbird,
think
but
about a helmet exotic that that then will allow you to see anything, characters on the map, even if they're invisible.
It could have a radar
like-
dish on it that's
or
spinning
crouching,
around.
yeah, or
You call it like knucklehead
With a
radar.
red light.
Your little
that? Ooh.
satcoms on your
Knucklehead
head.
radar.
Yeah. And it could be made out of tinfoil, but still be like really
I
effective.
dig it. I will send that baby.
Did we actually say that the Trials of Osiris is going to get a random map?
Yeah. Well, I don't think we actually
Okay,
said
that's-
that,
yeah, we
but every
So, yeah,
single
you-
map is
you get-
available.
every time you load into a match, you'll get a random
Yeah,
map
this-
based on the 6 that we've seen.
This is why I said I can't believe I said thank God Cauldron is gone, and now
Right.
I have a 1 in 6 chance of playing Cauldron every match.
But knowing how Destiny works, it's going to be all 9 times Cauldron.
oh my
Yeah.
God,
With the
Do
I
you guys
best
think
ones.
that
So
this is a
salty.
good idea? Do you think it's like a, would you want to see it every week, or do you think it's just a cool idea for one weekend?
I'd much rather see spawns flip than random maps.
I'd much rather see just like more maps, different maps.
More
random
maps.
Specifically
maps.
speaking about this idea, not a different idea. Do
Um,
you like it?
It's
No.
funny because
I did.
I thought I would like it, right? If you hear it, you're kind of like, oh, it's not the same map. But it was kind of sweet having the same map and really learning everywhere to go on that map and having a strategy. And now it's kind of out the window. And I think actually we're missing the point that it disadvantages the people who maybe haven't played Trials so much at this point.
Yeah.
Because now it's just completely random. They have to learn all 6. Like if you just bought the game, you're screwed.
Well,
My
I-
team
I
has
like it.
figured out each map at this point.
Pope likes
I
it.
really,
we're not
I
developing new
really,
strategies at this point.
really like the idea of it being a random map rotation, because when I sit down with my team to do a 9-0 run, right?
3 times.
I really want to around 5 maps, about 5 runs in, we already know what each other's doing, and the communication stops. It's
Yeah.
not. It kind of gets boring and redundant within that team, within that fire team, within that trials run. And I'm not trying to be arrogant in any way. I'm just saying that in reality, if it switched from one engagement to the next, it would encourage teamwork and communication. And anytime any changes to PvP make that its priority, I'm in support of it. So I want to see the next map be unique as we're loading in, where you're like, oh, we got, one
Cauldron.
guy's checking the other team to see who's got the thorn.
Spoiler alert,
Who's got a
everybody.
thorn shotgun?
Who's blinks? Somebody's checking the other characters and calling out the what they are. Yeah, we got a Sunsinger, and then the other guy's like looking at the map and going, okay, we're gonna be on Widow's Court. We got to get the snipers out. It makes that
Fusion
engagement more.
Your loadout's got to be more complex, right? It's
Yeah.
not just I'm playing the Cauldron. I'm going
Right.
to pull out
I
my
got the same
Matador.
3
I'm going to get
guns.
my Thorn.
Mm-hmm.
Now
That is a
it's
good
gonna
point.
be I got to get my Thorn and I got to get a Sniper and my Matador.
Or you could say, I've just. Oh, don't worry, I've got my blink shotgun. It's okay, I got this.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You have
Yeah.
a close range map. You're like, okay, I'll use the Thorn. You have a long range map. You're like, okay, I'll use the Thorn. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just
It
different.
really adds to the gunplay.
Adds
Yeah,
to
exactly.
complexity.
You're like, I got a
Yep.
medium range map. I got to use the thorn. It's
Yeah.
just so,
Yeah. Exactly.
so unique.
Yeah, it's beautiful, really.
Mhm. It's precious. But I
Is there anything
personally
else in the
like
weekly
it.
update we want to talk about? They gave us heat maps, but I think we've seen them all before.
They're all in the really logical place that you'd expect it to be.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
well, these heat maps are great, but it would be nice if they weren't so. To me, it seems like this would be something that would, and I've said this before, this would be valuable in game based on our team's production. So if you have a fire team, heat maps are extremely valuable for individual fire teams' production. So that you can know where, as a team, you're living and dying, and you can analyze your team's performance. In Halo, it was extremely valuable in big team because you could go back and analyze how your team did. Heat maps at this level, at the 30,000 foot level, are trend analysis. And you don't need to play the game that much to understand where people are going to live and die. I mean, honestly, it's just, this is a 30,000 foot look at the game. We already know it. What if they allowed me to see this even on Bungie.net? If they allowed me to look at it as in the recent games, I could click on the game that I just played of Trials, or I could gather the last weeks of PvP for me on a specific, like you used to do on Bungie. I think that would have value for me, but seeing it like this is just trend analysis and metadata that I already knew.
Yeah, I was just going to say new players are going to think it's pretty cool.
True.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Destiny hotfix 1.2.0.5.
Woo!
Yeah.
We're finally going to get the Nepal digital rewards.
So
everybody is super excited about the shaders and emblems. And the Husk of the Pit fix. So the Husk of the Pit, the rumor was that the thing was a drop-in. The rumor in this case was correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Wasn't it that it was dropping very, very low? Or was it not dropping at all?
It was dropping
I heard
very
it wasn't
low,
at
and
all.
then after one of the recent hot fixes, it was completely removed. Like, it just wasn't dropping, period.
Which is a shame because, you need the necrochasm if you want to do well in PvP. So I don't know. Like, people were pretty chapped about that.
Yeah.
Yep, it's the
I
thorn
think people were
necrochasm.
chapped because it's getting a buff now.
And they want to see
Yeah.
it.
Well, obviously people are actually trying to get it now, which is good.
Yeah. So the drop rate has actually been increased from the original rate, they're saying.
Right.
Specifically
Which I didn't
about
find-
Blades of Crota mission. Fist of Crota mission.
Did they
I
give
didn't
an
find
ETA
that
when
that
that's dropping? That hotfix?
No,
sometime
this is
next
going to be
month.
before the Taken King.
It says
Got it.
within the next month.
Within the next month, yeah. There you go.
Because once you get that, you got to upgrade that Eidolon ally.
I don't even have the Eidolon Ally, to be honest. It's my one exotic I don't have.
Yeah. It's...
I have to get it now because there's actually a reason to. So I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
load up Crota again.
I think Necrochasm is going to be a lot of fun to use. Not going to lie.
I'm excited for it.
Gonna be the- it's
Explosion
gonna be the only-
every headshot. That's awesome.
It's going to be the only auto rifle with basically Firefly with a bigger Firefly on it,
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Even if it's not good, it's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. I'm in favor of all these changes.
Wow.
I like that one.
Puns galore in this episode,
You guys want
guys.
9 strange coins?
Oh, wow. That
Free
sounds awesome.
strange coins?
Tell me
9?
how.
Wait, no,
Just gotta-
Brian,
You
you
just got to give Bungie your email address.
No,
Wait.
Briar, we missed the most important part about that hotfix. When that one
what's
drops, the Taken or the 2.0 patch will be like right around the corner, quote unquote.
Quote, unquote. Destiny 2.0.
Yeah,
I hope it doesn't
That-
get delayed.
that's the best
like
thing about the hotfix.
Yeah,
Is
that's-
it's just is closer to the patch.
yeah,
Yeah.
for me.
Nice.
Well, I think, so Briar, why do they want our email address?
So they can
give us strange
coins.
Yeah, so they keep strange coins.
Give us strange coins.
Coins will be granted on Fridays, batched and rewarded. You'll have until August 30th to benefit from our seedy little bribe. We
They
want
literally say, "Don't worry about it. We like you. Isn't that enough? We promise we won't give it to anyone else."
Well, they did
If
promise
they were
not
giving
to
away
give it to anyone
motes,
else.
if they were giving away motes, I would be making new email addresses to enter into that thing. I swear.
Well,
Weapon-
I'm so low on motes.
strange coins do turn into motes.
Yep, you buy them.
Yep, from
Two
Xur.
for one. It's a 2-for-1 deal. As a matter of fact, having that kind of doubling action is really important. W3FV347C might be helpful.
Killing it, Pope.
Pope, I weep for your liver or kidneys. I'm gonna go kidneys. I weep for
So on
your
a
kidneys.
scale of,
You
so
know
on a
what?
scale of
It's both.
1 to 10, how mad would you be if I entered one of those codes in right now?
It's not me that would be mad. It's the community that listens to it.
It's okay. Those
I'll be
codes
okay.
are probably already taken anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want to try 4473V3WR, would you?
Nope.
I
No,
see what you
definitely
did
not.
there.
No. You wouldn't.
I like the
want
gunslinger's look after you read one. It's very cool.
Hey, so Patrick, when are we going to take this thing live?
Guys, a lot of people have been wanting us to do this live, and I'm thinking we should try to do it sometime. Like next month is when we're gonna start doing it live. our first live one will be some point in August. So there you go.
We're shooting for the first week of every month, right?
Yeah,
to do
we're shooting
a
for
live
that
show.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the things that we're excited about is being able to do it on Twitch and take some live questions from you guys. So it's going to be a great opportunity to engage with the conversation and to be a part of the discussion. But it's something that it's new, and it's going to, why Patrick is saying that, we're shooting for the first Thursday of the month. We record at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. So
Usually.
it'll be the first Thursday of the month, usually at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. So mark it down on your calendar on PlanetDestiny, Planet_Destiny on Twitch. And we're going to try to do a live format where maybe one segment of the podcast is live, right?
Yeah.
And then the rest of it would be recorded off air.
Maybe.
So maybe we're still talking about it, but if you have some feedback on how, if you're excited about it, or maybe some feedback on how you would want it, that format to be done, make sure you drop it in the comments below. We want to hear what you guys have to think about that.
I'm hesitant about doing it because then that means I won't be able to play Rocket League for the entire podcast.
Right.
Which I might have been doing this entire podcast.
It's addicting.
There's been a lot of bathroom breaks this podcast, and you guys probably wouldn't even know if you're listening to this.
There's a part where I was really
about
silent at the start, and I was having a really close game in Rocket League. I'm not gonna lie.
Patrick, I appreciate your honesty, but Rocket League is like crack. I really recommend you, as a friend, you step away, step back.
Well,
away.
I'm logged into Destiny right now, and that's more close to
okay.
I don't know.
Heroin.
I mean, step off the crack, jump onto the heroin. Now it's I don't know if you guys have had a chance to play, but it's super exciting and it's a lot of fun. It's a great distraction, and it kind of goes in line with some of my philosophy right now. Is that a lot of people are super bent that they're getting burnt out on Destiny, and for a lot of us, it's taking a break, stepping away.
Can we talk about burnout for a little bit? Just generally talk about it, because
sure,
we've been having a lot of questions about people just not enjoying the game right now, and I do want to say it's okay to put the game down and come back to it later. I mean, just looking at another game like Diablo, I really feel like Taken King is going to be like the Reaper of Souls expansion for Diablo for Diablo 3, where, man, Diablo 3 sucked.
Or maybe, Patrick, is there an example from another game that you've played in the past?
None that I can think of right now.
Maybe a game from the same company?
Well, I was going to say that I literally did get burnt out on Destiny itself. In the time between kind of when the first expansion, The Dark Below, came out, it just wasn't resonating with me at the time. And, I started posting once a week. I just really wasn't having fun with the game, period. And I think the new expansion, House of Wolves, has really helped that. And I've really been playing a lot more and enjoying it a lot more. And I think some of the other things that helped me with burnout is, taking a break is definitely, and playing a different game, that stuff is definitely helps, but also just really varying up your gameplay, doing just random stuff by yourself, saying, today I'm going to try to beat, this strike with only a shotgun and never switch, and just stuff like that. It'll entertain yourself, being a raid Sherpa, doing stuff that you wouldn't normally do, and using guns you don't normally use. Like, I think people get burnt out because, the people who use the Thorn nonstop, you're in danger of getting really burnt out. Try using a different weapon. Try using a different, play style. If you have only one character, please start a new character. That really helps as well.
That does help. Mm-hmm. That really does.
Like, I have all three characters, and it really helps switching it out.
Yeah, I've enjoyed playing Witcher, and
I might be booting that up right now.
It's a exciting shift. It's like the gameplay is a totally different. It's not a shooter. It's it's different. Yeah,
can you explain which game that is?
No,
Oh.
it's oh my gosh, the puns are real. No, I like mixing it up, and I think that's something that I've done recently, and it feels like I'm enjoying my sessions when I come back to Destiny, and it just allows me to enjoy the time that I have, and I'm still playing with my friends because we're in party chats and things like that, but just playing different games. And one of the things that I've enjoyed is that, like you were saying, Rick, that Sherpaing groups. Like I just went through a group with on stream with it was just me and a friend, and then 4 viewers from the PlanetDestiny stream, and 2 of those 4 had never done the hard mode raid before on Crota or Vault of Glass, and to get them to go on, do a raid and be a part of all that, really enjoy the enjoyment of me. Like I tweeted about it because I was just excited. I got excited to help them and they're like, one guy was super, super quiet. And then, I came down on Crota and I killed him and he goes, Pope. And I'm like, what? He's like, dude, that's the first time I've ever beat Crota. And I was just so excited for him. We went back to the tower. We all got in our Glowhoo shaders and we took a photo. And it was just this great moment for him. And he was really excited. And I was happy to be a part of it. And it reminded me of why I play this game. And it's just to help other people. And why am I even on this podcast? It's to help others and be a part of the community in that way. So
yeah, it's kind of weird, hey, because when I stream, I almost exclusively just play with subs. It's almost weird that you get excited for other people's loot drops. Like if you Sherpa someone through the Prison of Elders and they're like, I got the Elder Cipher, you're like just with them, you're screaming with them, you're like, oh sweet, yeah. Don't pick the Drake's Promise. Just kidding.
Bringer, like those big ones. Oh, it's so
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
Even if it's not you that got it, you're just so excited.
Yeah, and they are so like legitimately excited. It just really feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of Elder Cipher, I got my last one on Monday, and Varix still hasn't come back to me on that yet. Still hasn't come back to me on that
that's
yet.
weird.
Slacking.
Well, me, I'm not a scrub, so I have all 3 weapons already. Just kidding.
Yeah.
But
I also
I have the problem where
fall under that
Varix
category of
apparently
Wow.
I
Me
too.
discarded
I'm not a
one
scrub
or
as
whatever.
I'm
I'm a
He
scrub
I'm
on both systems.
Varix constantly has an Elder Cipher he's constantly trying to give me, and I already have all 3 weapons. I'm like, please stop. And so it constantly has the little thing above his head. I'm like, oh, Varix wants to talk to me. Oh, it's the same Elder Cipher. Please, like, Varix, stop.
I deleted
please.
a character just to get rid of that thing above Varix. I was just like, stop it! Leave me
Totally,
alone!
though. It's actually like that annoying. And now, especially with the
He thinks
what's
I'm
it
kidding.
called? The mailbox guy. What is his name?
Postmaster.
The Postmaster.
Yeah.
Since that is like Vault Storage Space 2.0, it's
Oh,
just
God.
constantly telling me to get my 16 emblems or tokens of identity, and I'm like, no, they're staying in there.
Yeah, people get salty when you're keeping like Galahorns or Fatebringers in there. I'll tell you.
Yeah, Hawkmoon.
No,
I've got a Hawkmoon in mind.
Yeah.
I only have like
Borderlands
one of
is
all
on
my
sale
good
right now,
stuff,
too,
and
so
I
if
need
you
to
guys-
not do that.
If you guys like Destiny but are looking for something kind of similar, Borderlands: The Handsome Jack Collection is on sale right now for $30.
Yeah,
An
I
even
actually-
better
Yeah.
game, Bastion, is
Ooh.
on sale for $3.
Hold on.
So on PlayStation. So go
Bastion
check
is
that out.
I am
Bastion's
definitely going
great.
to download that
Did
game.
you say
I-
Bastion was better than Borderlands?
Yes.
Have shots been fired
Shots
just now?
were just
Because you're
fired.
I
talking
have
to
to
a
say-
former Borderlands channel. So, sir, I will check out Bastion.
yeah,
I'm
it's
actually
better.
not. I'm actually not. There's a lot of games on that list above Borderlands. So if you want,
I honestly, though, I think that if you don't have Borderlands, if you like Destiny, Borderlands really slots into that. It's like the first-person
Definitely.
loot-based shooter. Really slots in well. If you like Destiny, you're gonna like Borderlands. I honestly do think that.
the graphics.
I'm
in
playing it right now
Borderlands
with
are-
my raid group, so that it feels a lot similar because a lot
Yeah.
of the same guys I play Destiny with are playing Borderlands, and we're all
Doing the
playing it
raids in
together.
there, yeah.
going through it. It's fun.
I was.
Yeah,
I
I
was
sunk.
kidding.
I usually sunk.
This
2,000
podcast
hours
is
into
sponsored by
Borderlands
Gearbox. Just kidding.
2. Borderlands 2 alone, I sunk easily 2,000 hours into. I love that game. I didn't as much like the pre-sequel because
I'm
it just didn't
with you
feel it
there.
have the same. Didn't have the same vibe, but Borderlands 2 is an amazing experience. if
Borderlands
you've
1 too.
never had it before. Borderlands 1 is great, but the story is not there. Borderlands 2 just had a way of bringing you into this world, and you just cared about the killing everything for some reason.
If we're gonna get into a Borderlands arguments, I would actually say that Borderlands 1 has the better loot system. That's gonna turn
It did
some
have the better
heads.
loot system.
Yeah,
No, it
but-
did have the better loot system,
Yeah.
but the overall environment and the experience
the
of
story
Borderlands
and the
2,
quest in Borderlands 2 and the DLC, Mr. Torg, all that
yeah,
stuff is so,
all that
so
stuff
good.
is just
And
incredible.
I was just kidding. I played a crap load of Borderlands 2.
You take it back,
loved
Pope.
I
You take
loved
it back right now.
People are gonna
You
get,
realize
people
this-
are gonna leave
which way this
messages
is
that are gonna
going.
be like, Pope, how dare you say that Borderlands? I'm like, it's an awesome game. It's totally fun.
I will say that the going and playing Borderlands and then coming back to Destiny, you're like, oh my god, I forgot what good gunplay is like in a video
Oh,
game.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing.
That's a thing.
Yeah,
That's a real
you are
thing.
going to be a little disappointed in how the actual gunplay feels, but
Yeah.
it's a fun meta to get into. And then you do appreciate Destiny even more.
Well,
So,
yeah, the graphics of Borderlands is so much better than Destiny. I mean, it's just like, the detail of all the stuff in Borderlands is just phenomenal.
So Pope, I know I have a really hard time
Yeah,
telling
you
you
say
when
someone's
you're
trolling.
being sarcastic,
uh-huh.
but I can tell you're being
What
a
about the
sarcastic
show
ass right now.
shading?
What are
The
you
cell
talking
shading.
about? How can you say
No.
that Borderlands graphics aren't amazing?
If you did play it on the
Ooh,
PC
there's like
with
some
a
salt
good
I
graphics
sense coming
card,
from over by Pope's side.
yeah. Listen, if you did play it on the PC with a good graphics card and had the physics effects added, Borderlands 2 did look really good. Okay.
Or if you're a real man, you just played it on the 360 and appreciate
Ooh.
cell shading.
Ugh.
It's not
It was-
slash.
I couldn't do it on the
you
360.
couldn't see enemies on the gray maps and the brown maps because they just
I
blended
think
in
we
with
need
the
to
background.
redefine your definition of a real man.
Yeah, I think there's some people that
We need to get in there and work that around a
yeah.
little bit.
Let's talk a little.
Oh,
To me,
man.
a real man plays Borderlands on the 360 and makes a hell of a lot of puns. So I'm slotting into my own ideals very well. Thank you.
To me, a real man is someone that takes time in Destiny and values it, and doesn't want their time not to be wasted. As a matter of fact,
Jesus Christ, how many have you
HNNW37CR.
drank this podcast?
Let me repeat that since you may not have gotten all that. HNNW37CR might be there to help you, that Destiny player, take advantage of that time.
There you go.
These codes are bull.
Ugh.
No, they will be after you just entered them, huh? So everybody knows that they're not in the podcast because I've sat here and opened them up, each one in front of you. So
That's horrifying.
Yeah, Pope, I can't.
those are the big ones,
I can't
too.
drink Red Bull like that. It's
yeah,
amazing.
those were I took a 6-pack with me on vacation, and I saved all the tabs. So those were just I normally give them out on my stream, and I didn't play at all this weekend. I was gone up in Seattle for the week, and so I didn't get to play at all.
What were you doing up there?
Nothing.
Seattle.
Yeah, what's in Seattle?
That name sounds familiar. What?
There's
Specifically,
Mount
I was in-
Rainier,
I
there's
was in
Microsoft.
Space Needle.
I was in
Microsoft?
Bellevue, Washington.
Is that so?
There's a Starbucks in Bellevue, Washington.
There is a Starbucks. There's a
That's weird.
yeah.
Just
I had a
enjoying
great
the
time.
cloudy weather?
Hmm?
Just enjoying the cloudy weather?
Just
That's what you're doing?
it was 80 degrees, 80 to 90 degrees, sunny as you can imagine.
Oh my goodness.
This whole
Nice.
myth of Seattle
Thank
having
goodness you had
horrible weather
6 packs of Red Bull.
is just a myth. It was
With all that Red Bull,
absolutely
he ran
gorgeous.
home.
Yeah. It wasn't he didn't call it Red Bull, he called it fuel.
I just call it vitamin RB, you know. So it's whatever. No, I really enjoyed my vacation, but I had a bunch of tabs with me that I pulled off over that week, and then brought them back with me. So I hope you guys enjoy them.
I most certainly will.
Anything else we want to talk about today?
Patrick,
I don't think so.
Patrick, are you still playing Rocket League?
No, I'm playing Witcher now.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
You slaying wolves?
Multitasking.
Slaying wolves.
I'm like
in
literally
Witcher?
sitting here just with the stream open, like not doing anything. I gotta be a good guest. These guys are gonna be mean to me.
No,
You know, I
I'm
think,
currently fighting Morvold, and I think he's a very high level thing, and I'm not very leveled. Oh,
Morpho the Terrible.
now,
Yeah,
did you
that's-
guys have a chance to hear the
running.
commentary from Kyle on the video that he made?
No, I did not.
Which
yeah,
one?
for the Destiny movie of the week.
Oh wait, yeah.
Oh, it was hilarious, man. Here, I'm gonna play it just so you can hear a bit
No,
of it.
no,
But
it's rather annoying.
It translates.
It's rather annoying.
No, just a second of it.
It's so annoying.
Ready? Listen how excited this guy gets.
Sounds pretty excited.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Man,
Riveting.
oh my god, this is so invigorating.
Hey,
Seat
you
of my
know what
pants
though?
right now.
You guys are gonna bag on the guy, but I'm telling you right now, I watched that and cracked up. Everybody,
Did you play it?
what's that?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you guys couldn't hear it?
No, we didn't hear anything.
It's going through your headphones.
Oh no, I have it going. I have it going through the stream, so they probably heard it. But anyway, so if you haven't had a chance to check out the movie of the week, it's funny. Everybody has been playing there with a friend of theirs that's watching over their shoulder, and just
I don't think you understand how alone I am, Pope.
Oh, Patrick. And it's just fun. It just reminds me of that environment when you're with your friends and you're just like someone's going crazy because of the amazing kills you're getting, and I don't know.
Well, I know what video you're talking about. The guy records his kill streak and then he has the mic recording and all of his friends are freaking out. Yeah, that video is pretty hilarious.
It is
Have you
funny.
guys seen the Scottish guy who like refused weapons?
Yeah, he's one of the.
He's actually not
PlanetDestiny
Scottish. He's very American.
He's American.
What?
That's his accent.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought he was Canadian.
He's
Canadian, guys.
Well, he's American. He's from the Americas.
Oh my goodness!
Right?
I love those videos. They're hilarious.
Yeah, they are fun. I like the way he says Goonie.
Scandal: PlanetDestiny hires fake Scottish man.
Well, congratulations to those winners of the movie of the week. The last thing that we want to cover is all you artists out there. It is so cool that they have a place for you to drop your stuff off and get. They have a contest, right?
I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I've been playing
Witcher 3?
Witcher 3
Rocket League?
and
Rocket League?
Rocket League for most of the podcast. I got to get my gaming in, man. I don't have much time to do these things anymore. If you want to find me, you can find me at Holtzman_PD on Twitter. I occasionally stream on the PlanetDestiny Twitch. I'm always on the PlanetDestiny videos, and on my personal channel, I'm still doing that Crucible tutoring thing, kinda. You can send me an email at askholtzman@gmail.com. I'm sorry, there's so many like social media things with the @ sign now. I get them all confused.
I've been the Briar Rabbit. You can find me on Twitter at the Briar Rabbit. You can find me on the Planet Destiny Twitch on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and you can find me on the Briar Rabbit channel on YouTube.
This has been Tefty Teft with Planet Destiny and my own personal channel, Tefty Teft Games. You can talk to me at Teft on Twitter. You can also catch my streams on the Planet Destiny channel, usually at 9 p.m. Pacific time. I take Monday and Friday night off.
And this has been Pope Bear. You can find me on Twitter at Pope Bear. I'm a proud member of Resolute Gaming, and you will also see me streaming on the Planet Destiny channel at twitch.tv/planet_destiny.
And lastly, this has been Rick Kakis as the guest, and it was a pleasure being with you guys, and I hope you can guys have me on in the future. You can find me at my YouTube channel, Kakis HD, Kackis HD, and my link to all my stuff is in the description of all the videos. I'm not going to spell it out. It just takes too long.
We'll be sure to link to you there.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next time.